Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be taking you guys through the couple designer purchases that I made over the last number of years. I never made these decisions lightly. I was always doing a lot of research, making sure it was exactly what I wanted, looking at the pros, the cons, different reviews, everything you could think of. I made sure to check before I made the purchase, and even still when I was handing over my card I was like, this is a lot of money. But I'm going to take you through kind of how I make those decisions today, how I decide which items to buy, and also take you through the 3 items that I have here, because hopefully it will help you guys if you are indeed looking to make a purchase yourself soon. So without further ado, let's get into the first item. Okay, this was my very first designer purchase, I think 3 years ago, potentially 4, I don't know. Anyway, this was something that I wanted for years. I kept going back and forth on whether I should get it or not. Not because I was unsure whether I liked it. I knew I loved the bag, but just I was like, can I spend that much money on something? Can I justify it? So eventually I obviously did buy it, and it is the Celine Trio Bag. And yes, I do keep the shopping bag it comes in and the dust bag and everything else, because I want to keep my stuff in really good condition. So it comes in its little dust bag here. It's my Celine bag, old school Celine as well, so it has the accent over the E, which is causing uproar since Phoebe left, but we won't go into that right now. I don't have anything in it at the moment because every time I use it I actually do empty it out, put it back in the dust bag, put it back in the bag, and put it on the shelf in my room. I'm really meticulous about taking care of all my purchases because I want them to last and I want them to stand the test of time. And this one has, been through like 3 months traveling. It has been through the ring. It's been on more nights out than I care to go into, but it's stood the test of time. It still looks amazing. It's got like basically no damage to it. It's insane. I had been looking at this bag for years. I had always seen it kind of online. I remember like looking at, what was it called, that site online, Lookbook something. It was called Lookbook, wasn't it? God, I'm going way back. This is like when I was in college, looking at blogs online, and a lot of them had the trio bag, which is what this is. It's the Celine Trio, and I would see it in all these different colors and stuff, and I just thought it was such a gorgeous, simple, classic, elegant bag. And so I obsessed over it for about 2.5 years before buying it. No joke. Like every time I go on a holiday I'd be like, should I get it now? Like I'm on holidays, it'd be a nice memory. And in the end I decided to wait until my birthday, and part of the reason for that was, yeah, I had saved up the money myself, or most of the money myself, but you know, when it came to getting a gift from like my parents or something, I like, once you're older I never really know what to ask for. I'm always like, I don't know, like a lipstick or something. So for my birthday that year I just asked them for vouchers towards this department store where I could get my bag, which is Brian Thomas in Ireland. And so my parents gave me a voucher, I think my sister gave me a voucher, and then I put the rest towards it and I got my bag, and I was so happy when I got it. So I'd had the bag probably over 2 years, and I noticed that, and this is purely my fault from traveling, but you'll see from this strap here that it's kind of like poppers in and out, and you can adjust the length and make it longer or shorter or whatever. When I bought this traveling with me, it's a great one for the airport because it has all these, you know, the 3 different pockets. So I would put like, you know, passport and purse in one, you know, other bits and bobs in the other 2. It's just really good for compartmentalizing stuff. But when I was traveling I probably used it a little bit too much, and I would stuff it full of stuff, like really pack stuff in. Which is so bad. You should not do that. Like, don't overfill your bag. And then when I got back I noticed that the holes that I would normally have the strap in were loose, so I changed them, and then I kept overstuffing my bag, and then eventually all these little holes that the clips would go into were loose. and it was to the point that my bag wasn't really secure anymore. So I can't even remember when this was. It was probably like late summer last year. I went into Celine and I was like, my strap's broken, I need it fixed, I love this bag more than anything, please help me. And they were amazing. They literally took the bag. She was like, okay, we'll get the strap done, you know, while it's off in Italy, do you want the leather cleaned? A friend of mine has a Gucci bag that she had sent off to Gucci to be repaired because the lining came loose, and hers was gone for months. Honestly, I couldn't get over how long it was gone for. It was insane. And I was expecting the same thing with my Celine, and 2 weeks later I got a call to say, yeah, it's back in stores, it's ready to go. I thought, it couldn't possibly be back already. How is it so much faster than Gucci? But I went in and there it was. The strap was perfect, really sturdy again, thank God. The leather had been cleaned, so everywhere it's just like, it's perfect. Their customer service was just amazing. It didn't cost anything. This bag I have literally worn to death. Actually, another friend of mine ended up buying this bag because she saw me using it so much and she adores it too. It's just a beautiful, classic, simple bag, and I think that's one of my first real tips for you guys when it comes to buying designer or buying investment pieces, that you don't just go for trends, you go for something that's classic and that's going to stand the test of time. There's a couple of other bags I've like wanted throughout the years, like the Chloe one with that little clasp thing. Obviously the Dior saddle bag is really popular at the moment, but for me they're too trend driven. While they're lovely and absolutely, if you can afford it, go for it, but for me, designer purchases are not a regular occurrence. So when I do buy something that's designer, I want to make sure it'll stand the test of time and that it's classic. And that's what this Celine Trio bag is, 100%. It's a very classic, simple, elegant bag, and I'm going to be using it forever. Another top tip when you're buying investment is don't buy outside of your means. So for me, I timed the purchase of this bag around my birthday, and that meant that I could get vouchers towards it because I knew I had some of the money for it but not all of it, and I wasn't going to, you know, go into my overdraft or put it on my credit card just to justify the purchase. I think you should only buy something like this if you saved up the money. If you have it, it's disposable, you know, you're not going to be missing out on bills or anything because you bought this bag. And you should really, you know, buy within your means, and if you can, time it around a birthday or Christmas or something like that, so that you can get maybe vouchers towards it or a contribution towards it, and then it takes some of the sting out of the purchase. So buy within your means, don't go crazy. Just because you see someone with a designer piece does not mean you need a designer piece. For me, it was kind of a case of, you know, marking an occasion like getting promoted, and I wanted to, you know, get something significant to remember that by. Coincided with a birthday. It was a lot of different things coming together, and that, you know, I meant I could justify this purchase. Don't go throwing stuff on your credit card just because you want it. You gotta know you can afford it. And I'm gonna put CC away now, and I literally do this every single time I take care of my babies. So after I bought my Celine, I actually didn't buy anything else designer for another 2 years, and part of the reason was there was nothing that I really wanted. I was, you know, again, I'm not just going to buy something just because it's a trend or it's there or whatever, and it's not really for me. So I waited a full 2 years, and then it was my birthday again last year, and I had my eye on a pair of shoes for a while. I had done a lot of research into them and eventually decided to buy them. So then my next purchase was the Gucci Jordan loafers in classic black with the horse bit detail here. So these are looking trash, they're actually fine. They've worn lovely with time. The same with my Celine. Every time I use them, I'll stuff the toes, I'll put them in their little shoe bag, and I'll put them back in the box. I'm not joking. Like, if I'm investing in something, it's gonna last. It's gonna look good in like 4 years time. Well, as much as a shoe can. So I know these are very trendy at the moment, which kind of goes against my whole point that I made earlier about not buying trend pieces, but this is where my research comes in. I had obviously seen a lot of people wearing these with like, you know, the backless version with the fur and all that kind of stuff, and I knew like that's not really for me. But then I saw a lot of people wearing the classic loafer, and I got the Jordan. The Jordan and Brixton are different in that the Brixton has kind of a seam here and you can fold it down, and I decided I just wanted to keep it full, you know, the full shape, just because I preferred it. I thought they were a really nice classic shoe, and I was going back and forth on like whether they were just a trend piece and they wouldn't still be, you know, they wouldn't still be considered like nice in a few years time. You know, the way sometimes there's something that comes in, like I think the dad sneaker now we're all like obsessed with, but in a few years we're all gonna be like, they were clunky, we look like we were trying to be Spice Girls, you know. So I went online and I was searching photos of these shoes, and I actually found from like years ago a photo of like Princess Diana wearing them. And I thought, okay, they've been around for a very long time, they're very classic, they're very neat, they go with absolutely everything, and that kind of justified my purchase. I read an awful lot of online reviews and looked at the pros and cons, watched YouTube videos on them. Like I literally like went into overdrive trying to research what to do, and eventually decided to go into the store and try them on. One thing about these shoes is that they are small fitting. I'm generally like a small size 4. I have these in a 3. So if you're ordering online, go into a store first and try them on. I had another friend who had an issue. She bought them online and they weren't the right size, and they had like this weird no return policy. So you just need to be careful, so try them on. These are the single most comfortable pair of shoes you will ever buy in your life, and I think that was another thing that sold me on it. I had a friend who had gotten them for Christmas, and she was like, wait until you put your foot into them, like there's no pain ever. You know the way when you're breaking in a new pair of shoes, it can like pinch. And you see, when I started working, I bought a pair of shoes that were really pricey for me at the time. They were like €200. Considering I was a grad and not earning yet, there was a lot of money to spend on a pair of shoes. But they were like a plain loafer, and they had kind of a grey suede detail here, similar enough style to this. I wore them like every single day to work. They were like my go-to because they were smart, but they were flat. I'm not a big one for heels, and yeah, I wore them every day, and they were incredibly painful. Like to break in, it took me so long to break them in, and at that stage I was like, I paid €200 for these. Like I remember like the backs of my ankles bleeding, like my toes, everything. They were just the most painful thing ever. These are like putting on slippers, to be honest with you. They're so soft, they're so comfortable, they still have like good structure and support, and they're just amazing. Like anyone who asks me should they invest, yeah, 100%, especially in a classic like black or something. I just think they are so worth the investment. I wear them to death, and anyone I see or meet who's also wearing them, I'm like, do you like them? And they're like, yeah, best thing I've ever bought. So read the reviews, go online, but I would say go in store and try them on, because you'll really notice the difference, firstly in sizing, that they're considerably smaller, but also you'll notice how comfortable they are. So the same day that I bought my Gucci Jordan loafers, I also bought these the Gucci slides in the Oyster, as they call it. Now I want to explain, this is going to seem like a very bougie purchase to make in one day. It was my birthday, so again, all I asked for was vouchers. I literally was like, Mom, Dad, siblings, that's all I want, just give me vouchers. But in addition to that, I had actually also won a significant voucher in work. Had that not happened, there's no way in hell I would own both of these. Being perfectly honest, there's no way. I would have had to make a decision. But as it was, I had tried both of them on. I couldn't decide which ones I wanted, and I had all these vouchers, so I made like a mad decision and just got them both. And my mum and sister will tell you, like, we went into town that day to get my birthday present because it was the day of my birthday, and I came out with the two shoes and my sister said my eyes were like this because I was like, oh my god, what have I done? But no regrets for either of them. They're amazing. So these ones are obviously the backless ones. The reason I got these is because I actually owned, like 2 years before this, I owned a pair of slides. Now they were in black and they were just an Aldo slide, and I owned them and I wore them to death. They were really handy for work in the summer because obviously a full shoe, and that's one thing I will say about the Jordans, when you're wearing a full shoe it does get quite warm. Like, they're leather at the end of the day, so in the height of summer they're not the best thing to wear. But these are amazing because you can easily slip your foot in and out, and there's a lot more ventilation. So I used to wear a pair of like black, kind of a black version of these from Aldo. But the reason I ended up getting these, aside from the color, so we'll just take the color out of it for a moment, the ones I wore from Aldo I loved, but the sides only came to about here, so I always found that I was slipping out of them. And that, you know, I was just couldn't walk as quickly as I wanted to because it was really only gripping the top half of my foot but not supporting the sides as much. Whereas with these, they come quite far down on your foot, so they're really coming up onto the main part of your foot, which helps you keep them on a lot easier. Secondly, I've never had, I wasn't joking when I say I stuff them, I really do. I've never had like a pale colored shoe that isn't a sandal that's smart, that I can wear to work, or, you know, wear with you know, nice outfits that looks more put together. In the summer, like, these will be predominantly on my feet. Like, I wear them to death. I'm actually so excited for it to get nicer outside so I can wear these all the time because they're amazing. They're a perfect summer shoe. I can't say enough positive about that. You will notice with these, they crease a lot more across here, and that's because when you're walking, I think your foot is moving out more because it doesn't have the back, so there's more of a hinge across the top here, which I don't mind. But you should also be aware that the white ones, obviously when the leather scuffs, I'll see if I can get it to focus, they're gonna scuff. They're leather shoes, and it's not something that overly bothers me. It looks worse than it is in real life there. I find I don't really notice it. A little bit of scuffing doesn't bother me. It just shows that they're worn and they're loved. I love them. 2 outlandish purchases in one day, but no regrets. Each shoe comes with its own little dust bag. I pop it in there. And then the reason I keep the boxes for these is because I know they would just get thrown in with all my shoes, although I have cleaned it. See my Marie Kondo video here. I feel like they would just get thrown in and a bit battered, and I want them to, I've invested in them, I want them to remain in good nick for as long as humanly possible, so that's why I keep them in the boxes. I suppose my last tip for you when you are thinking about what you want to buy in terms of designer is making a list of the things that you actually want and you need. So I had made the list for like my white Gucci loafers. I had made the list that I wanted a shoe that I could wear in the summer that looks summery, that was still very classic, and something that I could wear again and again, but also closed toe, so that when I was in work it was something a bit smarter, because generally in workplaces I don't feel as comfortable wearing sandals. I don't know, it's a personal thing. So I knew all that. I knew I really liked a slide shoe from having, you know, had ones in Aldo before, but that I wanted something with a little bit more support. And then I weighed up the pros and cons, so looking at, you know, the list of what I wanted, and then going online and looking at all these different reviews and weighing up the pros and cons and different things that people said, and asking people who I knew owned the item. I then, you know, weighed that up against what I wanted from that purchase, and that's why I decided to get both shoes, because they both were fulfilling different purposes for me. I know for me, for all 3 purchases, I made sure that they were classic. They were going to stand the test of time. So that's tip 1, you know, don't be driven by trends all the time. Tip 2, I made sure they were within my means. So I combined them with a birthday and receiving a gift, and then, you know, getting vouchers and work or whatever it was, to make sure I was living within my means and not going crazy, you know, combining things together. Tip 3 was doing my research and making sure it was fulfilling a need that I had, and not just going out and buying something spur of the moment. While it's nice to do spontaneous stuff, I think, you know, dropping several €100 or dollars or pounds or whatever it is probably isn't the best way to be spontaneous in my mind. So because I made sure they were investment pieces, I did my research, I made sure I could afford them, I have no regrets for any of my 3 purchases. I have gotten so much wear out of them, so much use out of them. I love each piece and I take care of them, and I'm just really happy with them. It wouldn't be something that I do often. Clearly in 3 years I've bought those 3 things, but it definitely is something that, you know, if you want to treat yourself and you do the research correctly, it feels really nice, and it feels like, it does feel like an investment, and it's something that you're going to take care of and potentially be able to pass on to someone, or keep until you're old, or whatever it is. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know investment purchases can be scary, but I promise if you follow the 3 tips that I've outlined, you will not regret it. If you like this video, you can like and subscribe, and also leave a comment down below if you've made any investment purchases that you do regret or don't regret. I'd love to hear all about it. But that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.